Welcome to the Fact Off, everyone, a weekly podcast where we share random and obscure facts and leave it up to you, the listener, to decide which one is the most interesting. I'm your host, Alex, and with me are the lovely and talented Pat.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And Mike.
Great intro, buddy.
Yeah, damn right it was a great intro.
And only one try.
I know, perfect every time. Yeah, so welcome to the Fact Off. As I said in the opening, we're going to give you some facts. Each one of us brought a random fact. This week, the fact was about people. Each week will be different, and we have a whole system to figure out what we're going to do for that. But it's kind of boring. We don't need to talk about that now.
My system was so convoluted. Like, we had a probably 20-page text thread of like my system that I came up with, and it was just so nuts. And Pat didn't read any of it because he was on the beach.
That's me.
We simplified it, and we'll go over it eventually.
Yeah, Pat was like, "I'm on vacation. You figure it out."
Yeah, I figured after like 3 days of not responding, you would just replace me with a different host. But here we are.
And we tried, and no one else wanted to do it.
You were the only one daring enough to challenge us.
Yeah, I can't wait to kick both of your asses. Can we?
I think my person fact is probably the best.
Well, that's a good idea to have.
Mine is terrible, guys. I'm gonna lose.
It sucks. Mine is mediocre at best, but it's what you can do at the last minute. So,
and we'll have a voting mechanism when this show goes live. There'll be a website link in the show notes where you can click, vote on the best one, and the next episode, whoever wins gets to give a victory fact.
Yeah, so they can just give like any fact they want.
Like Mike is the greatest in the world at everything. That's my first fact if I win.
Way to steal my fact, Mike. And then the loser of the week will become the slack off. Because my other idea was turned down.
It was a little inappropriate. I'm sure the listeners can figure it out very easily what it might have been.
Yeah, this is going to be rated PG to R depending on the week, so we have no idea.
I was promised NC-17.
Yes.
Yeah, my person's Jenna Jameson. Should I have changed it or?
If you join us on our OnlyFans, you'll see the full uncut version of these episodes.
And he means uncut.
Exactly. Wink, wink, wink. So.
Okay, yeah, so to go back on track. So how it's going to work, we'll each present a fact, and you, the listeners, will be able to vote on our website, factoffpodcast.com. And after each episode, you can vote for what fact you thought was the best. Maybe have some feedback on there, maybe get a little conversation going about how much better Alex's facts are than everybody else's.
Little known fact, it was originally thefactoffpodcast.com, but then Justin Timberlake showed up and just said, factoffpodcast.com.
Actually, I was trying to buy factoff.com, but that was already taken.
Such a good name.
It's not taken, but the company wanted to charge me an arm and a leg to have it, so no.
Maybe we'll become so big that they'll pay us to use their website.
I just hope the podcast becomes so big that we can't fail.
Too big to fail.
Yeah, just like the U.S. economy.
We are just like the U.S. economy. We're like the three, I don't even know what they're called. The three pillars of I'm judiciary.
I'm presidential.
And I don't know the third.
You're the house.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
That wasn't my fact for the week, so I did not study up.
This is the part where we all try to say words we can't say.
And that's going to happen a lot on this podcast, especially from me.
Yes.
So, Mike, this podcast was your idea, your baby. So why don't you hit us with your fact first?
All right, I'll start it off. So my fact title for this week is The Two Fathers of Labor Day. And not like they weren't like a gay couple, like fathers of Labor Day. It was two different guys that laid claim to founding Labor Day.
You know, you're the only one that thought that. But go ahead, keep going.
Well, I came up with the title. I just was trying to clarify it for everybody out there in the audience.
Hey, guys, I'm going to make a title. I'm going to have to clarify it first. But, okay.
Anyways, move on from that. So, everybody knows what Labor Day is, hopefully, but if you do not know what Labor Day is, it's an annual celebration of the social and economic achievements of the American workers. It's an American holiday. We don't care about you Chinese folks and other countries. You can have your own labor holidays or whatever. It doesn't matter. This is about American workers.
I just want to go on record. I care about all folks, Chinese, American.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking about the Labor Day holiday doesn't care. Like the Labor Day holiday itself doesn't care.
I did not sign on for that part of this podcast. The groups Mike hates is not signed on by Alex.
But all right, steering it back. Labor Day was made a federal holiday by Grover Cleveland on June 28th, 1894. So I didn't realize it was even that old. And Grover Cleveland, I guess, that's back when names were like cartoon characters. So, we don't have Grover Clevelands anymore. So moving on. So this is like a kind of a competition sort of where two guys of the similar names both lay claim to founding Labor Day as an idea. So Peter J Mcguire and Matthew Mcguire both lay claim to this. So this is a very convoluted story. I'm not going to go too in depth with it, but you can read. There's lots of sources out there, and all of them say both of them. Some say one or the other founded it. It's so confusing. Oh my gosh. But anyways.
I love it.
Before it became law in 1894, back in 1882, Peter J. Mcguire, one of the guys that laid claim to this, decided to say, let's have a parade to celebrate laborers in the USA. And both these guys that I mentioned, Peter J. Mcguire and Matthew Mcguire, they were both like activists of their time, fighting for like the labor movements of the time. Because, it used to be a hellhole to work in America.
Used to be. Jinx.
Okay. Everybody says they have it hard now, but it was nowhere near comparison to back in the day when people were just dying on the job and people were like, there's crazy labor fights. Like companies would march in with troops almost and like kill people who were like protesting or like not doing their job.
Union busters.
Thank you. But we're not
no
going to
helping.
get into it. No helping. But this fact is still the best. So anyways, Peter J. Mcguire, he decided to come up with this parade idea. And then also accredited to him is Matthew Mcguire. It came out later that he was the one that put the word out to everybody like, hey, there's going to be this Labor Day parade. Everybody should come. And he was also the one who rode in the front of it on a chariot. Not a chariot, a
float.
A float. A float of the time. What would you call that? Kind of like a carriage?
A chariot, I guess.
Yes, a biblical chariot. So I guess there's lots of historians that kind of argue back and forth there. Like one guy founded the parade, the other guy announced it and rode in the front. So, it all gets muddled here and there. And when Grover Cleveland signed this into law, he didn't give the pen to either guy. And basically, historians just keep arguing back and forth who deserves the credit, and they both do. They both worked hard. They both did their part to like make the labor movements successful, and where we are now is because of them.
Why didn't Grover Cleveland cut the pen in two and each of them get half of the pen?
Well, who was ever more upset about the pen being cut in half was the real owner of the pen.
Exactly.
No, that's interesting because we did an episode of the Future Jam about the summer, and I was reading about the whole Labor Day movement and all. And it's important. And he did give us a lot of like rights, those labor fights early on.
honestly, when I was like researching this, I thought it was going to be a cut and dry thing where I could just kind of present it to you guys. And the more I read conflicting reports, it just got more and more muddled. And I left just as confused as it was before. But
well, you originally thought it was founded by John Labor. And
yes, I originally thought it was founded by John Labor, but it wasn't.
I like the idea that historians are just arguing all the time about this.
Oh, they do all the time.
Yeah, it's one of those things where people constantly like try to take credit for a big thing like that. And I think in the 1950s, to sum it up, Peter J. Mcguire was some people pretty much set in stone that he was the one who founded it. But there's still other people on the outskirts that are fighting for Matthew Mcguire. So
I can see Peter being the guy who came up with the idea, and Matthew being like the guy running with the idea.
Well, okay, so to dig down a little deeper real quick, not too much, it's speculated that Peter J. Mcguire's like politics at the time was a little bit too like extreme, and they kind of like had this Matthew Mcguire character. He was like more likable and had more like agreeable politics for the time, that he was the face of the movement, and that's why they kind of went with him for a while, is because Peter was seen as too much of an extremist. I don't know how much weight is on that, but
I can see that because that happens a lot throughout history. And parades are a good way to get your message across. Because the only reason I don't hate the Irish is because St. Patrick's Day parade each year. So
you were on the fence for so long, and then you finally went to the parade.
And I was like, you know what? I like the Irish. They like the color green.
And also what I thought was interesting...
Yeah,
they both had. I think these guys are both Irish as well.
Probably.
Well, Mcguire, yeah.
Yeah.
And...
So, yeah.
Okay.
That's my fact. Title. If you want to vote for it, mine is called "The Two Fathers of Labor Day."
No, wait. Is that like they were like both parents of Labor Day? I missed the beginning of your story. What?
No, they were both accredited at different times, and there's a war. Originally, I was just going to report Peter J. Mcguire was, and then there's so much conflicting reports I had to include this Matthew Mcguire character.
Good for him.
I mean, they're both living on in history, and that's all that matters.
They are now.
Exactly. So, who wants to go next? I think you guys are both looking like you're studying your notes.
I can go next. I don't want to go last, because everybody forgets who's last. Wait, that might be first. I forget. Either way, I'll go next.
Okay.
All right, so mine is called I'm going to read off. I wrote down some stuff. I'm going to read it in very dramatic voice. It's called The Captain of Copenhagen, and I might be pronouncing that wrong. It is a...
I'm going to dock you a point and give it to me.
All right, damn. How many points do you have now?
We forgot the rules that you can dock another person a point and give it to yourself, but you can only do it once per episode.
That's not true.
Is it first come, first serve?
Yes. So Mike used it this episode, so next episode, one of us can use it.
Oh, I'm gonna.
This is just made
and
up.
we don't have a
This
point system
real.
yet, but I will write it down.
Don't listen to Mike. These are facts.
Mike gets point.
All right.
Yeah.
So here we are.
But to be perfectly honest, the only real points that count are the listeners voting.
Our beloved listeners of the Fact Off. We call them factors. Or offers. Fact offers.
Fact off.
All right, so let's get back to the good fact of the week. I didn't know if this is a fact or just a fun story about a guy, but isn't that what all facts are? Yeah. So the captain of Copenhagen, Wilhelm Voigt, was born in Prussia in 1863. By the age of 14, he had already spent 2 weeks in prison for theft. And over the next 30 years, he would spend 25 of them in prison for theft, forgery, and burglary. Some accuse him of stealing Labor Day from another guy. But that's a fact for another time.
No.
Not your phone.
That's not a fact.
False.
On October 16th, 1906, Voigt was prepared for his masterpiece. He bought an old German captain's uniform from different shops around town and went to see if he could fool some soldiers with it. Now, at the time in Germany, it was like a big joke that they were so authoritarian that he believed that if he wore this outfit, he could just convince people to listen to him. And it did. So he went to the local army barracks and saw 4 soldiers and a sergeant. He told them to come with him, and without question, they just did. And he took them to the town of Köpenick, a city east of Berlin, and on the way found 6 more soldiers at a shooting range and ordered them to join his group. So he had a little army.
When did this take place?
1906.
1906. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And that's the end of my fact. No. So they get to City Hall. So again, he's a thief. They get to City Hall. He has his men arrest the treasurer and the mayor of Köpenick. He just says, like, oh, they're accused of cooking the books. Go arrest them. And because he's wearing this uniform, they said, yes, sir. And they walked in. And the mayor, because they were so into authority and the army at the time, the mayor, without question, said, okay, arrest me. And so while they were arresting him, he snuck into the office and stole 400 marks, which is money at the time. And I'm assuming 1 mark equals $1. That's how money works, right?
It sounds like made up. That's not real money, right? Marks? Yeah.
I did click something and said marks were the gold standard of Germany until a few years after this. So
I know. It's a valuable money, a commodity. Wait. So is this like a German version of Robin Hood?
Well, he didn't give the money to anybody. He just
stole.
He just stole money from him.
But did Robin Hood actually give the money to anybody? It didn't really get to that point. They said he did.
He stole from the rich and gave to the poor.
Well,
this is more like
poor. Robin Hood was poor, so he probably just gave to himself.
This is more like a Danny Oceans from Ocean's 11.
True. Okay. It was just Ocean at the time. It's just him. All right, so he convinces all these people. The mayor was just like, I guess I'm arrested now. And so he was like, all right, you guys take this guy to Berlin for interrogation. And they're like, yes, sir. And they left. And then he just changed out of his uniform, disappeared. And then this guy was in interrogation for hours before anybody realized. They're like, oh, wait, I don't think that guy was the real captain in our thing. So then it took, let's see, the German army, obviously they're embarrassed, right? They're furious. So it takes them 10 days until they got a tip and they arrested this guy. But they were so mad, but the German Kaiser, Wilhelm II, was like, nah, that's pretty funny. I'm going to pardon him. And they just let him out of jail. You're like,
so
that's pretty good.
How did he not get away with it, though? I don't know. How he got caught.
Yeah, I read one thing, somebody he was in jail with. This must have been his when I'm out of here, I'm going to dress up like a captain.
Was this his master plan? Every evil genius has a master plan. But they always tell somebody else about it, and that's why they never end up being the great.
Master? Yeah. He was like, wait, this sounds familiar. Old Wilhelm was always talking about dressing up like a captain.
I 100% agree with his punishment, though. If you come up with a good enough plan and nobody gets hurt, I think you should get 2 thumbs up. Hey, you got us. You got us good.
It was. I mean, he did spend 2 of they only sentenced him to 4 years, I guess, because there wasn't really no harm, no foul. But then he got pardoned after 2 because he was like, meh. I guess information traveled slower back then.
So are they going to make a Marvel comic book based on this fellow?
There's apparently a movie about this guy. I looked him up. Full disclosure, this is our first fact off, so I just typed in interesting people you may not have heard of. And this was number 7. But
boo.
Hey,
dock him another point.
You looked at the calendar and said, "Ooh,
now Mike has up. 2 points."
Oh, come on! I don't like this point system. But anyway, I'm not done my story because immediately after getting out of prison, he went on tour and he lived the rest of his life going around signing autographs. And they made Madame Tussaud, or I don't know how to say her name, Trousseau or Tussaud. They made a wax figure of him. There's there's a statue of him outside City Hall where he robbed the guy. He's a German folklore hero. And he went old school viral. He was in the newspaper in London and New York. They're like, hey, check out these Germans. And everybody was laughing at him. And then I forget what happened next. Maybe they took it seriously or something. But all in all, it was just a nice, fun prank. The Captain of Köpenick. Your fun fact of the week. There you have it. Questions?
No, I think
what was the movie?
What was the name of the movie?
The movie's called Captain of Köpenick.
Okay. Did you just read the whole script to us?
The Two Captains of Köpenick. It's about two men who fall in love.
Mine is The Two Fathers of Labor Day. You can't take my fire.
Damn it. Wait, if I can't take his fire, can I take his point?
You can take one of the points back.
Yes!
The audience at home is getting so confused.
So Mike has a point, and Pat has a point.
Mike, don't underestimate. Every listener at home has like a piece of paper right now with our names written down, and they're figuring this out.
So right now, Mike has 1, Pat has 1, and I have 5.
What?
Oh, dang it!
Writing down the points.
I forgot he got 5 just for hosting.
Yeah, man, that's why I wanted to host. I guess that leaves me. Bear with me, I'm a little nervous. It's my first time on this podcast.
Oh man, he is totally getting slammed in the votes, I feel like.
So I didn't.
Like, the audience can sense the nerves like sizzling like a pork chop on the pan.
Can I tell the people a real true story? Alex has never told a fact in his life. This is the first fact he has ever tried to say.
Then why did you join this?
So I forgot to name my story or guy or person or thing. I don't know what it is. So I decided to name it American Namer. I'm just going to call it the American Namer.
American Namer?
Yeah.
Namer?
Yep.
Okay.
So, the other day I was at Big Bone Lick State Park in Union, Kentucky.
Not a joke. It's actually a real state park.
It's a big park for North American paleontology, the birthplace of North American paleontology. A ton of fossils found there, real famous in that world. Still a ton of fossils being found.
It's actually widely known as an Instagram post where people take a picture of the exit marker on the highway and post it on Instagram. Like teenagers will just snicker to themselves like, "Oh, get the joke, Big Bone Lick."
Yeah, I bought a shirt there. Someone
did send me a picture of himself standing next to this sign.
Yeah, I did. It's hilarious. But it's also a very cool place. So at there, they had on display one of the fossils found there of a Harlan ground sloth, which if you don't know, is a sloth that lived in America 10,000 years ago. That stood about 10 feet tall and weighed 2,200 to 2,400 pounds. So I got to wondering, who is this Harlan guy, and why was this magnificent beast named after him?
Oh, so I like where we're going with this.
So, this man's name is Richard Harlan. He was born in the great city of Philadelphia in 1796. He was a Quaker, and he was one of 10 kids. He was one of 10.
One of 10 people.
Wow.
Which I was looking at.
That's a fact of its own.
And I had this because I was trying to do research for this, and then I got in one headline about his brother, and I guess his brother tried to become king of. His brother was the first American to visit Afghanistan. And I guess he tried to become king of Afghanistan, and that's all I got because I was like, I can't get too bogged down on this.
Oh my gosh! Why didn't you just do the fact on him?
Because that one was a lot more in depth.
All right. You can save that in your back pocket one day, just bust it out, and yeah, you'll probably win another episode with that.
Also, I think if you type in Afghanistan into the search engine, you get a lot more results than if you type in Harlan Giant Sloth.
He was a doctor and a professor. In 1821, he was elected professor of competitive anatomy. I cannot say this word. Let me say it. Anatomy. Autonomy.
Docking you a point.
Anatomy?
Anatomy, that's it. Sorry, way off. Can't be my own handwriting.
Take one of his 5 points.
Oh, okay. I got 2 points then. You're in third. Yep. You're in last place now, Mike. Thanks.
Yeah, he gets the point. Comparative anatomy at the Charles Wilson Peale's Philadelphia Museum. So this guy Harlan was a collector. He collected stuff. He at one point in his collection had 275 skulls.
Okay.
That's only a few more than you.
He was a collector of fossils and specimens and all. And in 1925, Harlan published the book, The Fauna Americana, a catalog of American mammals. It was the first book of its kind about American mammals, like all the mammals he found in America.
I'm just happy that his book is called The Fauna Americana. That's fantastic that he rhymed it. I think all books should rhyme.
I think you should Alex gets a point for that fact. The Fauna Americana.
He meant to have a follow-up book about reptiles, but he never finished it.
Oh.
What do you think he would have called the reptile book? How would he have rhymed that one?
Reptile America File.
No, because it would have been Fauna Americana, a catalog of American reptiles. Idiot.
Oh.
Come on.
Is that sad fact of the day? He never got to his other book.
Well, he did a lot of other stuff. So, like, he was, like, known for, like, this type of work and all. But he also had a lot of issues with, like, his hastiness in naming things. So, again, like, just getting stuff wrong. But he would always admit that he's wrong and, like, never, like, seemed like he took himself too seriously. At one point, he was set some bones from a guy in Louisiana. And he thought it was this, like, 100-foot marine reptile. And so he named it this Basilosaurus. So he thought it was, like, this giant reptile that, like, biggest reptile ever found, a marine reptile.
Did you purposely choose, like, a story with, like, the most hard to pronounce words?
Yeah, because I found this interesting. But it roughly translates to King of the Lizards.
There you go.
But in 1830...
Godzilla, isn't that Godzilla?
Yeah. But in 1838, another autonomous, Richard Owens, figured that the teeth were more like a mammal, and Harlan agreed, so they tried to rename it to a yokel tooth whale-like animal, but the Zoological Society wouldn't let them change the name. So now that whale is still called the King of the Lizards, and you can find the bones at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. You know, but, like, he had a couple of things like that where, like, in his book, he named stuff wrong because he was, like, doing it too fast, but it just didn't seem like he cared. He wrote a lot. I thought this was interesting, too, about him. So there was a big cholera outbreak in Philadelphia. So him and a couple other doctors went up to Montreal to study the disease.
They got out of there.
Yeah. But they came back and they're like, oh, all the sick and, like, should have their own separate hospital wards, and, like, we should set up, like, hospital or, like, areas where they can go night or day to get medicine and be looked at. And then we should also evacuate the infected areas. And then cholera was no more in Philadelphia. They solved the issue. And he said about cholera, he's like pretty much like, yeah, it kept me gainfully employed during this whole pandemic. He's like, and he got like a silver mug from the city of Philadelphia thanking him for his...
Definitely Philadelphia would be the place that gives you a mug. Yeah. Also, if he said that nowadays, he'd definitely be canceled. Somebody like, oh, I've made all my money off the coronavirus. I'd be like, oh, go F yourself, man.
Yeah, screw that guy. I'm not voting for this fact.
Yeah. But he did have a good quote about Homo sapiens. So in his book, he wrote about mammals. He wrote that his first animal he did was Homo sapiens. And he quoted Homo sapiens, so he wrote about him as inhabits all parts of the earth, omnivores, disputing for territory, uniting together for the express purpose of destroying their own species. That's what he wrote about humans.
Wait, what?
So
we want to kill ourselves? Is that what he said?
Yeah, he's like, they unite together to destroy their own species.
I mean, where's the lie?
There's no lie, but he does seem like that type of guy who, like, never really took... He has, like another thing named wrong. Like, never took himself seriously and was, like, whirling, like, the mean. Like, yeah, I was wrong. Yeah, we named this. Or
did he also name Big Bone Lick State Park as well?
No, because that name, I think, was in the Bible.
It was.
And then as he looked upon Big Bone Lick and all the dinosaurs there.
Yeah, when Jesus goes up to heaven, he goes like to Utah. He's like on his way to Utah. He stops at Big Bone Lick.
These are all facts.
Wait, this is now we're getting into the Mormon religion, I feel like. So, yeah, we're completely off track here. But what was the name? What was the name of your fact, Alex? So people can vote on it.
No, the American namer, Richard Harlan.
Should have called it the Big Bone Licker.
I'm not going to take Mike's nickname.
Gosh.
I just thought he was an interesting guy. I've never heard of him.
I liked it.
Yeah,
yes. I might vote for the American Namer.
Yeah, so we have the American Namer, we have the two fathers of Labor Day, or the two dads of Labor Day. The dads?
Two fathers of Labor Day, or dads, I did say at the beginning that they were separate people that were founding Labor Day. They weren't like a couple.
Yeah, we got that, but I'm trying to get your title to recap all the titles for everybody.
Two fathers of Labor Day.
Yeah, so we have the American Namer, the two fathers of Labor Day, and the Crook of Chopanek.
The captain of Kopanik.
The captain of Kopanek.
I will say, I think all three of our facts had something to do with a guy that lied about stuff. And those Alex didn't lie, he was just wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And one of your guys lied.
Well, yeah, one of my guys possibly lied, trying to take the glory for himself. Or maybe Labor Day is just one of those ideas that 10 people came up with it and only 2 people got credit. Or, I feel like Labor Day is one of those concepts that, like, I could see a bunch of people just coming to the conclusion that this should be a thing, like, around the same time.
I hope, this is our first episode of the Fact Off, and this is our goal. I'm setting our goal. I want, the Fact Off podcast to be just as big as Labor Day. And 2, I want in the future to people question Mike as the creator of the Fact Off because of his like wild views, and then assume that it was Alex.
What wild views?
Oh, I don't know. We'll come up with something.
Yeah, I'll get canceled, and then Alex will get the full glory for Fact Off podcast.
And if you don't do anything that is worthy of canceling, I'll make up something.
Yeah, so visit our website at thefactoffpodcast.com to vote. We have a link in
Factoffpodcast.com.
Factoffpodcast.com. Did I say the again?
Yeah, you keep wanting to throw the in there like that.
I love the word the. Top 5 words for me. So.
The other 3 are big boneless.
Yeah.
And park.
So, yeah, check us out at factoffpodcast.com. Vote for which fact you thought was the best. The winner will get to pick the topic or roll the dice for the topic for next week.
Well, actually, at the end of the show, we have to roll the dice for next week.
So hold on, before you roll.
How many numbers do we have? Because I got one that goes up to 4. I have one that goes up to 100.
So we have 6. So how we decided...
We don't need your nerd dice here. We just need one that goes up to 6.
Guys, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore.
So how this is going to work, whoever wins the week... So like it's going to be like 2 weeks before, I guess. So whoever wins this week will get to roll the dice at the end of next episode.
Show.
Yeah, and then whatever they roll, so we have different categories corresponding to each number. So 1 is science/tech, 2 is culture, 3 is history, 4 is religion and mythology.
And somebody has already told me they were offended at number 4, combining religion and mythology. And the only reason why we did that is because a lot of older religions are considered mythology now. So that's the only reason why we have those 2 categories together.
Yeah, we kind of want to just give ourselves options,
Who complained? What was it, Hunter? Your dog?
Yeah.
Number 6 is winner's choice.
I think I spoke over you. 5 was people. That was today.
So we rolled that first, and that's what we got. So now Pat's going to roll and see what our topic for next week is going to be.
All right, drum roll, please.
Drum.
Number 1.
Science and tech.
Wow. Nice. That's pretty broad enough to find some good topics.
Yeah, and the goal is like to help us have like 4 completely different topics. Or 3 different
4?
topics. I can't count.
Well, the winner has the victory fact.
Yeah. So we won't have a victory fact for next week, but I'll have one.
Well, are you saying you're gonna win? We will have a victory fact next week because whoever wins this episode will have a victory fact coming into next episode. You can follow us at Fact Off Pod on Instagram, at Fact Off Pod on Twitter. Do you think we should get a Facebook? I don't know. We'll eventually
let us know if you want us to get a Facebook.
Should we get a TikTok? And every week the loser has to do a TikTok dance.
We'll think about it.